we can tap into something greater.
Well, I think there's definitely something to what you were saying about the untapped limits of the human potential, and that most people barely scratch the surface of that. And if you really firmly get into that zone and believe you can do things that people just, they really don't have any idea what they can do if they have to, because people are rarely pushed to their actual limits.
Yeah, I mean, it's been said many times before I say it, but that idea that growth happens outside the comfort zone.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've personally thought about a lot in this space is, I got severely burned in this fire. I chose to jump the rope, so I was chose to be a knucklehead 22-year-old kid on a beach in Thailand, but I wasn't like, God, I want to get severely burned today. That happened to me, right? Which forced me through this intense, tragic moment. But from that, I was able to learn of this sort of untapped potential inside of me because of the outcome, because of winning this triathlon.
Yeah.
But what I realized is that it's hard to choose that path often. It's hard to push yourself outside of those boundaries, but things that are, quote unquote forced on you. I mean, let's look at something that half of this population essentially does: give birth, like childbirth, natural childbirth, right? It's been happening since the beginning of time. And that's an incredibly intense physical manifestation of the power of the human body. I mean, I can't even imagine, obviously, what that would look like, nor will I ever be able to experience that, but that's incredibly powerful. Or times when people, are forced to go through a cancer diagnosis and have to go through radiation and chemo and, facing the mortality and all this sort of stuff. People get through those, but oftentimes these tragedies have to be forced upon us for us to do them. And so my exploration now with my, creative artwork, I call it, with these, expeditions, these world record projects that push my body and mind, it's me choosing to step into those moments. It's me choosing to put my body and mind in these intense moments because of a deep curiosity of what are the limits of human potential? What are my limits? What are our limits collectively? And can my physical expression of this inspire other people to innovate, create, and do amazing things in the world and in other modalities and canvases?
Well, that's one of the weird things about people doing extraordinary things like what you did, is that you absolutely will give other people fuel to accomplish things in their life. Inspiration is so critical for human beings. I mean, I draw upon it from so many different sources, from David Goggins and a bunch of my other friends, like my friend Cameron Haynes, and a lot of other people that are endurance athletes and different people that I've interviewed on this podcast. But there's something that happens when you realize that people can do extraordinary things that makes you believe in the potential, not just in that person, but also in yourself.
Absolutely. I mean, Goggins is a great example of that. I've never met him, but, I've personally derived inspiration from that guy. I mean, he gets out there, you can't run 100 miles. I'll show you I can run 100 miles, and he's pushing his body to extreme ways. Or, I love what he says about the 40%. I think about it a little bit different in my mind, but what are those limits? I mean, I don't know if it's 40%
people
or 50%.
40%.
People quit, people quit.
Yeah.
That I can't voice comes up. And, he's proven it. So has many other people of actually, when you say I can, actually, when you don't stop, you get stronger. And for me, in my own story, in my own journey, I think that final day, that final 32-hour push proves it. 3 days before that, I'm videotaping all this. I'm trying to capture as much content to be able to share with people of this crazy, weird place that's Antarctica by yourself. And day 49, day 50, I'm literally crying into my GoPro being I'm running out of food. I'm exhausted. I don't know if I can keep doing this. I'm just worked, right? But sure enough, I don't say I can't. It's that it was at 40%, was that 50%. That's that moment when I wanted to quit, or I should have quit. But then the strongest, most amazing moment of my entire athletic career that spans decades happens 3 days later because I kept pushing. It's not like I rested for 3 days and pulled that off. I never took a rest day in 54 days. I pulled my sled 12 to 13 hours every single day. And on the last day, it was the strongest as possible. So I think it proves if we can push through that I can't moment, no, it's not going to work, that you can get there. And unfortunately, we talk about 40% with Goggins. I actually think a lot of people quit at 1%. They're sitting behind their office. They're like, one day I want to travel overseas, or, I hate this job. I've got this great business idea, but immediately they're like, but I can't, I've got no money to start this business. I've got no this. When I first set off my first world record in 2014, I sat with Jenna in my house, 1-bedroom apartment with a whiteboard. And we're like, I'm going to see if I can set the world record for the Explorers Grand Slam, something fewer than 50 people in the world have ever done. And I'm going to be the fastest. Climb Everest, climb Denali, climb Kilimanjaro, North Pole, South Pole, back to back. I haven't climbed a bunch of mountains. It'd be pretty easy to say I can't. Oh, and by the way, we have no money money to do this. We have no platform. I have like 200 Instagram followers. Like, I mean, I have like nothing. But we just sat there and we're like, no, instead of saying I can't, let's say I can. What's the first step to that? We literally get out our laptops and I'm like going to, like, we're like, we want to build this big media campaign where lots of people follow and get press. Like, we know nothing about, we have no background in this. So we Google, what's the difference between marketing and PR? I mean, we are literally asking Google like the most basic of all basic questions.
Wow.
But, you know, we continue to say, like, let's get coffee with our one friend who knows something about this. We should probably get a website. How does one build a website? And it goes on and on like this.
How long ago did you start this journey?
So that was 2014 when we dreamed that up. So the world record was to see if I could,
5 years ago.
Yeah, so to see if I could set the world record for something called the Explorers Grand Slam. So it's climbing tallest mountain on each of the 7 continents, 7 summits.
And before that, had you done anything like that, or had it just been athletics?
So I grew up in Portland, so I grew up like in the outdoors, but like, I mean, to go climb Everest, to Denali,
Right.
sort of like, no. Like the short answer is, I mean, I climbed a few mountains, you know, it's not like I'd never been in the snow before. I'd worn crampons. It's like I had not zero experience, but like not even close to the experience that you would think one would need to do that.
And to just break world records
Right.
doing
Not
it.
just do it, but like be the fastest
Yeah.
person to ever complete it. You know, like I said, it ended up being 139 days straight through to climb all those mountains. Didn't, you know, I think we had a clip up a second ago of something on Everest, but yeah, I mean, to do all of that, it started from this place of not of believing I can.